flight boss, bitch. For sure. You're now listening to the Mind of an Terry's Move. I am the Archangel Uriel, Royal Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And this video right here is going to be about what are the 13 heavens. Now, you can hear a mythology story within all civilizations because men and women was going to come to the same conclusion no matter what, based upon what they was observing. So they had different ways of coming to these conclusions. Some was more artistic, some was more allegorical, some was more symbology and things of that nature. But for the most part, we got an accumulation of these things, what we got today, and that's what we got to work with. But for the most part, you're hearing it from the horse's mouth now. So, like I said, this is the very root cause of the spaces that these deities, aka bodies that have entities in them, aka spirits, persons in them, you know what I'm saying? This is what they was observing, and this was the space that they was in to derive these conclusions, to come up with the motherfucking learnings and educational prospects of motherfucking 13 heavens. Now look, check this out, right? Now, 13 heavens come from the understanding of knowing that there's 12 heavens in the sky, what correlates our 360. So if you just want to say the heavens, and we start to separate the heavens to try to understand each portion of the heavens, we come to the conclusion that it's a 360. And then once we slice that pie in half in four corners, that creates the cross and the crux constellation and things of that nature. And then once we go beyond that, we understand each level of how it reached the cross, and then that puts us into the details. The devil is in the details, and now we have 12 spaces and things of that nature. But for the most part, once you start to understand that your universe, your internal energy is an internal heaven, your space that you jump into as a spirit, that you have abilities to think and feel, that is that your own version, your own internal heaven. And you have a chakras, you have wills, you have a solar system that go through those houses also. So you is one house compared to the 12 houses in the sky, so you make 13. You know what I'm saying? So, and this comes from the ancient knowledge of that, understanding how you being a 13 house and being the motherfucking 13 star move through the 12 stars that you're the 12 houses and the group of stars that rule each one of those houses, and how you relate and interact as above so below. And I hate to utilize that term as above so below, but for the most part, this is the space that these individuals was in order to come up with this ancient science and knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So before you go buy your ass a $15,000 fucking book just to learn about what the Aztecs or something like that was understanding, you hearing it from the horse's mouth and the motherfucker who they was summoning to even know that motherfucking shit. So keep that in mind. It comes from the being in the space of just now understanding that there's 12 portions in the 360 spiral that we are trying to witness in the sky, that we can calculate ourselves if we had sticks or rocks playing in the sand and entertainment was the sky for us before we had all this type of different electronics and shit like that, right? And if we're being in that space and then understand that things move out there, and if it affects us in some way, we must be a micro version of what we see in the macro realm of reality when we are observing our forms of entertainment back at that time. And if we're starting to correlate like that, we start to see each individual being their own heaven, or they could be their own hell. But before they even had those terms and things of that nature, it was called something else. You just got Jews and things of that nature coming to remix language and sit and make y'all think this what they was talking about. But other than that, they know what they was talking about based upon they wouldn't be able to come to certain conclusions and create schools and things of that nature that we got in the 20th century, in the 21st century. But like I said, right, getting into the circumstance of understanding that there's 12 portions within this 360 in the sky, when they came to that conclusion, they started to look at themselves. Since we all up in this 12 system, we all make one thing, but each individual have their own house. So each individual make a 13 of the 12 that we are in some magnitude. So keep that in mind. And if all of us are humanity, are sharing this land with animals and bugs, we're looking at all of us as one spiritual race. So we would consider ourselves as one house, aka one add-on to the 12 houses that we are in. So when we're deciphering and trying to understand the relations that we have within each other, this was the terminologies that they was coming up with when they were saying the 13 heavens, aka the relationship of the 13 heaven and the 12 heavens, but having it be complete in some way, shape, or form. Therefore, the race, I don't even want to say human, the spiritual race that's taking human body forms at the moment, can be on this spiral cycle, this Terra spiral cycle, on the right path and not get off course to the point that they have to repeat a cycle again, and that leads into forms of reincarnating. And if you go into an outer layer, that's incarnating into another form, so you could get lost into that one, reincarnate, or expand out of that one in some way, shape, or form. But for the most part, this is the actual concept of the space that they was in when they was coming up with the conclusions of understanding what is the concept of the 13 heaven, aka understanding that each individual have their own heaven. And then for the most part, you're within a system of 12 heavens in the sky. And so since you make the 13, understanding the relationship of the planets or the stars that rule each portion of the houses, of the 12 houses in the sky that make the 360, the 12 heavens in the sky that make the 360, understanding the relationships up there as above will be able to help you understand the relationship that it has with you and your natures and your desires as below. And then for the most part, just having that mentality put you into the aspect of the North Pillar or the 13th house or the 13th star. You see what I'm saying? So keep that in mind also. And I love y'all from the bottom of my heart.